our MC wakes up in the body of an absolute loser of a noble Liam. Upon realizing that he is now in a kid's body, he freaks out. His father scolds him for making such a scene, but he's in a good mood today, so he just tells Liam to sit down and try to not be a disappointment. Liam still can't believe this is all real, so he assures himself that he'll wake up sooner or later. However, the next morning, he wakes up stuck as Liam Hamilton, so he just decides to accept that this is his life now. A little while later, his personal maid comes into his room to help him get dressed. Liam asks her a few questions and finds out that he is the fifth son of a count, and that the party yesterday was to celebrate the birth of his new baby sister. Later that day, Liam is having a chat with his older brother Bruno to try and piece together a bit more about his current life. He discovers that Bruno is the fourth son of the Hamilton noble family, but they are on the verge of losing their status as nobility. There's a rule in place to prevent noble families from becoming entitled Karens, which states that every noble family must accomplish something great within 3 generations. Otherwise, they will be stripped of their status and demoted to commoners. As it turns out, the Hamilton family is currently on its 3rd generation without any major accomplishments, which is why their father and the oldest son, Al, are anxious to make some kind of contribution to society to maintain their status. Bruno, on the other hand, doesn't really care if he ends up becoming a commoner, because he's just a chill guy who doesn't give a frick. Just then, their lesson teacher arrives and announces that he will be beginning their magic lectures shortly. As soon as Liam hears the word magic, he leaps out of his chair and asks if he really gets to learn how to use it. Bruno is a bit surprised by Liam's enthusiasm and tells him that there are a bunch of grimoires down in the family storeroom, so he can go take a look if he wants. However, Bruno warns him not to get his hopes up too high, because most people don't have an aptitude for magic. Even so, the magic instructor encourages Liam to learn about it, because understanding magic is important, even if he can't use it. Liam goes to find his maid and asks her to show him where the grimoires are. She leads him to the mansion study, and Liam is amazed by the sheer volume of knowledge present there. He looks through the shelves and finds a book about basic fire magic. After opening it, he decides to try it out. Following the instructions in the book, Liam is able to create a flame on the tip of his finger, which is really impressive for a first attempt. Excited, Liam goes to his father's office to ask for permission to use the grimoire library. However, his father, who hates talking to him, dismissively tells Liam that he can do whatever he wants. The interaction is a little disheartening, but what's important is that he gave Liam permission to use the grimoire library. So he spends the next couple of days mastering all the basic elemental spells. Eventually, Liam learns how to cast spells without needing to look at the grimoire, and Bruno is astonished because he can't use magic at all. He tells Liam that he is amazing and that soon enough, he will be able to make a name for himself. However, Bruno is curious about Liam's motivations and asks him if he's trying so hard to learn magic because he wants to become the next family head. After all, that may make him a target for their elder brother. Liam, however, has no interest in the family politics of succession. He just thinks magic is cool. Since he has mastered all the novice spells, he decides to start learning ice magic. But while he is leaving the library, he gets called by his father. His father had heard about Liam's talent for magic, and even though he couldn't give a damn about Liam a couple of days ago, he is suddenly really interested in him. He asks for a magic demonstration, so Liam shows him that he can cast spells without needing to open a grimoire. The Count is elated because he might be able to use Liam to secure their family's position. From now on, he tells Liam that he is allowed to use whatever resources he may need for his magic studies. Suddenly, a report comes in that a particular man has appeared on the Hamilton land, so the Count orders the soldiers to be mobilized to capture him. From the sound of things, this guy must be a really big threat, but that has nothing to do with Liam, so he heads back out into the forest to practice his magic. While he's walking through the woods, he finds a man sitting under a tree, and the man seems a little on edge. Once he spots Liam, he asks if Liam is a member of the Hamilton family here to capture him. Liam confirms that he is indeed a member of the Hamilton family, but has no interest in capturing him. He doesn't even know who the guy is to begin with. The man is relieved that Liam isn't after him, but then he notices that Liam is carrying a grimoire, so he asks if he is studying magic. Liam confirms it, stating that constant practice is the best way to improve, and he's going to go practice now. However, before he leaves, the guy asks Liam if he wants to learn a more efficient way of using magic. This piques Liam's interest, so he asks the man what he is talking about. The man then shows him a technique that allows him to use 5 different types of magic at once. Liam is extremely impressed, so the guy asks if he wants to get a quick magic lesson, and Liam replies that he would love to. The guy is honestly surprised that Liam is being so polite, as nobles are known to be quite the arrogant bunch. In Liam's first lesson, the man asks him to try drawing 2 diagrams on the ground at the same time. Liam does as he is told, and it turns out he is pretty good at it. The next step should be hard for him to master. The man now tells Liam to try using 2 different spells at the same time. Liam attempts it with a flame cutter in his right hand and a fireball in his left. After visualizing the spells, Liam is able to simultaneously cast them on his first try. The man is truly amazed because it is extremely rare for one to be able to use this technique, let alone on their first attempt. He encourages Liam to keep going and tells him to try using 3 spells at once instead of 2. Liam gives it a try, and it seems to be working at first, but then his magic suddenly fizzles out. Liam gets disappointed, but the man assures him that he performed the technique properly. The only reason the magic died out was because he doesn't have enough magic power in his body right now to sustain it. Casting multiple spells at once consumes an insane amount of magic power, so Leon just needs to learn to control his magic a little more. With enough practice, he will be able to maintain the simultaneous cast. For now, the man is going to give him a little lesson about the nature of the techniques. Liam asks him to sit on the ground while the man makes an illustration in the dirt. These are prime numbers, and the man explains that the multi-spell casting technique only works with prime numbers. He has no idea why it works that way though. Basically, you can cast 1, 2, and 3 spells at once, but if you try to cast 4 at once, it won't work no matter what you try. The man currently has a limit of 13 spells at once, which is unbelievably impressive, but he has enough magic power that he can easily go up to 6. However, due to the prime number rule, he can't activate any higher simulcasting until his magic power can accommodate 17 spells. Liam is currently at 12, so the man is confident that, with a solid training routine, Liam will be able to raise his magic power to great heights. To help him with that, the man gifts Liam a ring, which he claims is a magic pedius, a magic artifact that contains hundreds of grimoires worth of magic. As Liam wears the ring, hundreds of magical spells start pouring into his head, allowing him to freely learn them as he pleases. Liam instantly learns a wind attack spell. Using one of the wind attack spells, the man disappears before him, leaving him utterly confused. At that moment, the maid comes by, telling Liam how dangerous it is to be out there and informing him that a suspicious man has snuck into the land. She hands him a book for novice summoning magic that Mr. Hamilton wanted Liam to have, and then heads back on her way. That's when the mysterious man from before reappears before Liam, revealing that he simply didn't want to be seen by the maid, indicating that he might actually be dangerous. The man tells Liam that he won't be able to stay much longer, and wants to teach him one last spell before leaving. He asks Liam to pick one of the spells from the summoning magic book. Liam chooses the spell to summon a salamander, a low-level fire spirit. Following the man's instructions, Liam uses the ring to activate the spell and successfully summons the salamander. However, it's immediately absorbed by the ring. The man explains that the ring functions like an infinite notebook, absorbing the contents of how the salamander was summoned. Realizing how incredibly valuable this ring is, Liam offers to return it to the man, but the man claims that the ring isn't that special. It merely saves its user from having to carry tons of grimoires around. Understanding this, Liam continues using the ring to learn more summoning spells from the grimoire. When he's finished experimenting, Liam looks around for the man's approval, only to find that the man has vanished. The only thing left behind is a message on the ground advising Liam to keep studying magic and to never tell anyone about their interaction. Although Liam only spends an hour or 2 with the mysterious man, he comes to view him as his master and feels deeply grateful for his teachings. Another month passes, and Liam masters both his attack and summoning spells. Using both, he creates a functional furnace, which he then uses to produce white charcoal. One day, Bruno visits Liam and is amazed to find that Liam has already made a considerable amount of white charcoal and collected a bag filled with lycro crystals, which are used to recover magic power. Liam explains that he created the crystals himself using 5 types of magic simultaneously, showcasing his impressive skills. Bruno is proud of his younger brother's progress, assuming that Liam will do well on his own. Bruno then announces that he plans to marry into a low-ranking noble family to gain some independence. He explains the necessity of independence by recounting a piece of their family's history. He reveals that in desperation to save the family, their father sent a large number of soldiers to fight a sealed monster in distant lands. However, the campaign ended in a crushing defeat, with only a handful of survivors returning. Despite this devastating loss, Mr. Hamilton and their eldest brother remain desperate to do whatever it takes to retain their noble status. Bruno believes that they may eventually drag Liam into their schemes, which is why he encourages Liam to also seek independence. The first step toward independence is earning money. Liam sells his white charcoal for a pouch of gold coins and uses some of the money to treat himself to a delicious bowl of ramen for lunch. Inspired by the meal, he decides to bring ramen culture to the Hamilton household. Using an ice spirit to dehydrate noodles, he creates dried noodles and teaches the family chef how to prepare them. Convinced that selling instant noodles could become a profitable business, Liam presents his idea to a local trader. However, the trader refuses to purchase the product, explaining that only the Hamilton family's eldest son, Albert, has the authority to conduct business on behalf of the family. As Liam leaves the shop frustrated, Alba steps out from a room in the back, revealing that he has been keeping a close eye on Liam. Jealous of his youngest brother's growing talents, Alba declares that he will no longer allow Liam to act freely. Liam returns home undeterred and remains motivated to pursue his business ambitions. For now, he stores all of his created items in a dimensional storage system he crafted using a spell learned from the ring. Determined to continue his work unnoticed, Liam uses an unconventional summoning spell to create a clone of himself. He plans to leave this duplicate at the Hamilton mansion to maintain appearances while he ventures out alone to the far lands to sell his goods. Liam arrives at the Hunters Guild after being advised to go there by his eldest brother, Albert. Upon getting there, he acknowledges that the place looks just like he had heard. Walking in, he attracts the questioning glares of the other hunters, who wonder what a little kid is doing in the guild. One of them even teases him about coming here to run errands for his mummy. Focused, he ignores the old dummies and walks straight to a fierce-looking man, whom he figures would be the guildmaster. When he seeks to know if the man is the guildmaster, the man immediately recognizes him as Liam Hamilton. He also acknowledges that Albert has informed him about Liam's arrival. Before he goes any further, he suggests giving Liam a test, stating that this is necessary to avoid placing him in a class that would be well beyond his abilities. Hearing this, Liam has no issues with it. To kick off the test, the guildmaster instructs him to cast an attack spell that he finds easy. He even states that Liam can speak his incantation slowly, but Liam has completely no idea what the need for an incantation is. This sounds very funny to the guildmaster, but he soon realizes what Liam meant. Going further, he asks Liam to attack him. Being prepared to launch an attack, Liam figures that he can't help using his full strength, since this is the determining factor for his class placement. Without wasting much time, he fires multiple blasts around the guildmaster's head, leaving his mouth wide open in shock. The other hunters who witness this are left speechless at how powerful Liam's magic is. Meanwhile, the guildmaster maintains his cool and offers to place Liam in a B rank due to how powerful he is. This leaves Liam straight-faced, giving no clue as to whether he is happy or not. After leaving the guild, he takes a look at his B rank tag and wonders if this is good enough. While he ponders on this, a cute girl walks up to him and introduces herself as Asuna. She offers to form a party with him due to how dangerous hunting alone is. Seeing how beautiful she is, the love-struck Liam wastes no time in accepting her offer. The two shake hands to seal the agreement and head off together. While they walk, Liam reminds Asuna that they didn't take any hunting jobs from the guild. In response, she reveals that hunting jobs are only given to A-ranked hunters and above. On the other hand, B-ranked hunters like them are left to find dangerous monsters on their own and bring them back to the guild for a reward. While she explains this, the two are ambushed by a pack of monstrous werewolves with nowhere to run. Asuna almost pees her pants, but regains her confidence when Liam uses his magic to place self-growing monsters in the mouths of the wolves. This leaves them occupied and very exhausted, allowing Asuna to land the final blows to take them out. After defeating all the wolves, they take them to the guild. Seeing the number of wolves they had killed, the other hunters are starstruck by their own incompetence. The guildmaster is thrilled that the two were able to take down 42 wolves on their own. He realizes just how strong they are and offers to hire them for an actual hunting job. They are tasked with hunting down a large caterpillar monster before it interrupts a very important visitor scheduled to arrive in the town later that day. While Asuna is happy about securing their first job, Liam is more concerned about the magic stones found inside the bodies of monsters, which make them harder to fight compared to ordinary beasts. When the two go up against the monster, they find it hard to take it down and are left exhausted. Liam tries every spell in his arsenal, but nothing seems to be working against the monster, making him feel like a common man. This leaves Asuna devastated, since she expected their first job to be easy. Drowning in her disappointment, she wonders if a meteor could fall on it. This sounded like a splendid idea to Liam, who devises a plan to take the monster down for good. He uses Asuna as bait to lure the monster to a deserted place and summons his item box to unleash a large boulder on it. They end up using this technique to take down 2 caterpillar monsters and return to the guild with them. Seeing this, the guildmaster and the hunters are left shocked once again. He wonders how they were able to take down 2 of the monsters in such a short time. The other hunters continue to speculate about how they managed to defeat the monsters. Meanwhile, Asuna tries to persuade the guildmaster to give them a higher reward, reminding him that there could have been an issue with the important visitor if they hadn't found the second caterpillar monster. Acknowledging this, he offers to give them 5 times the original reward money. This pleases Asuna, but Liam remains unbothered by it. Later that day, everyone awaits the arrival of the important visitor. While Liam stands in wait, his elder brother comes to commend him on his successes since joining the guild. He urges Liam to keep up the good work and leaves. Seeing him, Asuna immediately imagines that Albert would be very rude. Liam agrees with this since Albert has always seen him as a nuisance. On the bright side, the important person arrives. As he walks past the large number of people greeting him, he turns his sights to Liam and Asuna, and she's starstruck by his gaze. Later that day, Liam meets the important guest, who introduces himself as James Stanley. When Liam introduces himself, James responds like he is familiar with Liam's father. Not wanting to dwell on that, he seeks to know what Liam is doing with a ring belonging to someone he knows named Raymond. This happens to be Liam's master. At first, James tries to joke with him by suggesting that he had kidnapped Raymond to take the ring, but hearing Liam mention that Raymond was his master cools him down. The two engage in conversations about Liam's time as Raymond's student, which James finds very funny. He wishes to see just how powerful a student of Raymond would be. To figure this out, he asks an acquaintance of his to shield himself from Liam's best attack, hoping to see just how powerful he truly is. Normally, Liam doesn't feel the need to say incantations. However, he remembers that he had read somewhere about how saying the words can help make a spell more effective. With this in mind, he uses the names of the 3 best singers he likes as an incantation to fire magic missiles at James's acquaintance, Simon. At first, it seems like Simon can hold off well, but the missiles end up breaking through his magic barrier and making him pass out. Watching this, James is very pleased at how effective Liam's powers are. He offers to give him the title of knight to give him the chance to be independent from his family. Later that day, James makes Liam a knight, just as he said. He hopes this would help Liam get out from the shadow of his brothers. With the knighting done, James seeks to know more about Liam's time with Raymond. He knows Liam's master to be quite the prankster, and wishes to know if Liam has ever experienced this. Just then, Liam is reminded of the time when his master left him with 100 kilograms of gold dust as a graduation gift after soaking it in the water and making him perfect the item box skill before being able to access it. Even though this was meant to be a gift, Raymond reveals that the mystery behind this is a graduation test for him. Hearing this, James immediately figures out that the gold is just a diversion, while the real graduation gift could be close by, but not hidden in plain sight. To figure this out, Liam heads back to the side and uses his item box to absorb all the water in the lake. Walking through the dry lake, he wonders what his master could have possibly left for him. He tries to decipher the final messages of his master, and soon comes up with the plan to extract the gold dust alone and drop it into the empty lake. After doing this, a mysterious door opens, leading him underneath the empty lake. Walking down the stairs, he finds a letter and a book. The letter reveals that the book, which happens to be a maximum level grimoire, is his actual graduation gift. Picking the book up, he figures that it holds the power to another world. Curious to know what this power holds, he's determined to practice it for hours. He continues to practice the spells, but it yields no favorable outcomes. After multiple trials, he finally does it, and the spell reveals a huge mirror. He walks into the mirror to find an alternate space in a world different from that of the spellcaster. Additionally, the space would increase the more powerful he gets, since this space could house people, making it more effective than the item box. Liam is left imagining the endless possibilities of this spell. He is incredibly thankful to his master for leaving him with something as powerful as this. A month later, Liam and Asuna are fighting against a large frog. He tries to use fire salamanders against it, but they are of no effect. Instead, it angers the frog to the point where it is about to blast them with lightning. Sensing this, Liam uses his otherworld powers and takes Asuna with him to protect them from the frog's attack. Eventually, the frog passes out, allowing Asuna to finish it off. They take the frog's magic stone to the guild, and the guild master is surprised that they pulled this off, especially since it was a ranked job. However, he makes it seem like Liam did it all alone, which annoys Asuna. She doesn't take it too personally. Instead, she wishes there were a way for her to get stronger so she can match Liam's strength. At that moment, the guildmaster suggests that she become his familiar, since this would make her powers improve in line with her master's powers. Hearing this, Asuna is thrilled. She doesn't mind becoming Liam's familiar, even though one of the effects is that she would never be able to say no to him. She claims that she doesn't mind, even if he intends to be sneaky with her, since she has no problems with it. Liam agrees. The guildmaster performs the ritual for them by making Asuna kiss the back of Liam's hand. When she does this, she immediately becomes more powerful and possesses a unique skill that allows her to move like a speedster. Seeing how this works, Liam still has his doubts about the familiar contract making her powers improve in such a short time. He intends to try it out with someone else to see if it truly works as a solution. Asuna recommends someone she knows named Jody. When Liam makes Jody his familiar, she suddenly becomes younger and acquires the power to heal people with her cooking. Days later, James invites Liam to his mansion and informs him about the arrival of Princess Scarlet. He praises all of Liam's achievements since arriving in the town and reveals that these have made him a person of interest to the princess. Furthermore, he discloses that the princess wishes to see his familiars and wants to watch them perform their unique abilities. Hearing this, Liam immediately declines, as he feels it would be disrespectful for his familiars, who are his friends, not objects of spectacle. After he says this, James lets him go. After that, we realize that the princess is actually the maid in disguise, and having heard all that they had talked about, she believes that Liam wouldn't dare say the same to her face. The next day, Liam is summoned to meet Princess Scarlet, and this time she's not in disguise, so Liam will have to be careful about how he responds to her. Liam enters her palace and kneels before her, but Scarlet wants to get down to business. She calls for a seat to be brought for Liam and mentions that she has heard about him defeating an armored caterpillar and a giant frog. In particular, she's really impressed that he was able to kill a frog without using any high-level magic because this is the first time anyone has managed to pull that off. However, she is even more interested in Liam's familiars, so she asks him to show her what they can do. Liam can tell that she's trying to use her authority to force him to obey, but he can't accept her request. Scarlet asks him if he really intends to refuse a direct request from a noble, but regardless of what the consequences may be, Liam remains firm in his answer. He absolutely refuses to turn his friends into a circus act. He is fully prepared to face Scarlet's wrath for refusing her, but to his surprise, she bursts out in laughter. Liam is the first person she has met who stays true to their morals even in the face of higher authority, and she finds that really amusing. So, she wants to reward him. She declares that from this moment on, Liam will be given the title of Baron. Liam freaks out because he doesn't think he did anything to deserve such a title, but Scarlet has taken a liking to him, and she's the princess, so she can do whatever she wants. This way, Liam's family will lose their status as nobility, but there's something else Scarlet wants to give him. She presents Liam with a familiar contract grimoire, and Liam is way more excited about this than he was about becoming a baron. He thanks Scarlet profusely and goes on his merry way to practice with his new grimoire. A little while later, Liam is sitting out in the forest while reading the grimoire, and he is able to use the spells inside pretty easily. While he's still practicing, he notices Bruno walk up to him, and he's really surprised since Bruno got married and left home a while ago. He asks Bruno why he's here, but he doesn't have a reason. He just wanted to come hang out with his brother, mainly so he could congratulate Liam in person for becoming a baron, as it's a massive accomplishment. He tells Liam that he basically outranks their father now, but Liam doesn't understand what he means since their father is a count and Liam is only a baron. Bruno explains that while barons are lower ranked than counts, this country separates nobles into different categories, those who accomplish something and earn their titles on their own, and those who inherit their titles. Of course, those who earn their titles are seen as more impressive. Liam had no idea that was how it worked, but even if he now outranks his father, he doesn't really care since he just wants to learn magic. As he is walking through the halls, he comes across Albrevet, so he greets him, but Albrevet rudely ignores him, leaving Liam wondering why he is so mad. Meanwhile, Albrevet is absolutely furious that his stupid little brother is somehow overshadowing him. While he's walking, he overhears a couple of maids talking about how much Liam has been accomplishing lately, and he takes great offense to this. He yells at them saying, "If you think Liam is so amazing, maybe you should quit and go work for him instead." The maids realize Albrevet is jealous of Liam, so they quickly apologize for offending him. But Albrevet isn't done yet. He asks the maids if they think Liam is better than him. The answer is pretty clear since one of them is a magic prodigy, who earned himself a title at the age of 12, while the other is an entitled brat, who hasn't a single noteworthy thing in his life. However, the maids would like to keep their jobs, so they don't say this. Instead, they tell Albrevet that he is better than Liam. Albrevet then walks away in a huff, determined to prove that he really is better than Liam. He swears that he will accomplish something as well. The next day, Liam meets with Asuna and Jod in town, and the three of them seem to have become quite popular, mostly because of how pretty Jod and Asuna are. Consequently, Every guy in the crowd is staring daggers at Liam out of jealousy. Moving on, Liam wants the three of them to officially form a party, but he doesn't want to force them to do something they don't want to do. So he asks if they're okay with it. Neither Asuna nor Jode has any reason to object to Liam's idea, so they agree to form a party with him. Later that day, they all head out into the forest on a mission. Jode uses her bow and arrow to strike a wolf in the neck, and while it's weakened, Asuna runs in and finishes it off with her sword. Liam compliments Asuna, saying she has become a lot faster since she became his familiar. Speaking of improvements, Jode notices that she no longer has old lady vision, thanks to the contract making her a kid again. Liam asks if it's always a good thing to have better vision, and as far as Jode is concerned, she would never say no to having better eyesight, especially since she's an archer. Since that's the case, Liam raises his hand and casts an enhancement spell on Jode's eyes, allowing her to see much farther than she could before. Asuna then asks Liam about what he just did. He explains that he just used a basic enhancement spell to give Jode better vision. Asuna thinks that sounds really cool, so she asks Liam to cast an enhancement spell on her as well. But Liam doesn't think that's such a good idea. He could probably enhance Asuna's combat power, but that would be risky since there's a high chance she would break her bones under the stress of her new strength. However, something like boosted vision has no real drawbacks. With her 20/20 vision, Jode can practically snipe anything that is within the range of her bow, and it's all thanks to Liam, so she's really grateful. After a long day of hunting, Liam and the others return to the guild, but they are shocked to see the place in absolute chaos. They ask what happened and are told that Albrevit caused a huge mess by breaking the forest seal. Liam immediately realizes that Albrevit must have attempted to defeat the monster sealed in the forest out of twisted jealousy. He believes this is partially his fault, so he runs out to the forest to assess the situation. He and the others soon arrive on the scene, and it is much worse than anything they could have imagined. Dozens of soldiers are badly wounded, and many more are already dead. Liam is absolutely horrified. He spots Albert lying on the ground, injured, and runs over to check on him. But as soon as Albert sees him, he gets up in a frenzy and starts yelling that he hasn't failed yet. Just then, the master takes a stick and whacks Albert over the head with it, because the situation is already crazy enough as it is, and he doesn't need a crazy, insecure noble running around. Once Albert is taken away, the guildmaster approaches Liam and tells him he's glad he came. Asuna asks him about what's going on, so he explains that the dragon fiend Raiden used to be sealed inside these woods thanks to the hard work of Liam's great-grandfather, but Albert undid that seal in a failed attempt to kill Raiden, so it's now on the loose. They know how to reseal the beast, and the guildmaster has already gathered all the necessary people to do it, but there's something preventing them from sealing Raiden away again. Raiden's children. The little wrens are actually the ones responsible for all the damage that was done here, and if this much carnage can be caused by the little ones, then imagine what the real Raiden can do. Luckily, since Raiden has been sealed away for so long, it will take about a week for him to regain his strength and attack. So, if they can manage to reseal Raiden before then, they can avert a disaster. Liam plans to help as much as possible, so he races over to Raiden's location and finds him being guarded by the three little wrens. The little wrens aren't that big, so Asuna decides to try her luck and runs in for an attack. But as she does so, one of the little wrens shoots a fireball at her. Although she manages to dodge it, the tree behind her gets completely vaporized. Liam then tries using his magic missiles to attack, but the Raidens use their fireballs to counter, leaving Liam unsure of what to do. His strongest attack spell hadn't affected them, but he still has one more trick up his sleeve. He orders Asuna to take Jode and run, and all three of the Raidens charge at Liam. But before they can get to him, he opens another world gate and lets them fall in, trapping them inside. Now that the little Raidens can't interfere anymore, the guildmaster calls for everyone to begin sealing Raiden away again. Meanwhile, Asuna and Jode return to Liam's side, and he's relieved that they are all right. They ask him about the spell he used to defeat the little Raidens, and Liam explains that it's a spell that creates a separate dimension. He trapped the little Raidens in there, but there's no risk of them escaping, at least not at his current level of mastery. Whenever he closes the gate, everything inside the dimension disappears. Just then, Liam hears a voice in his head, and in the next second, he is pulled into the mind of Raiden. Raiden refers to Liam as a human with an immense soul and asks him who he is, but Liam doesn't understand the question. As far as he knows, he's just a regular human. Raiden isn't convinced, though, since he can clearly see that Liam's body and soul don't match. Liam realizes that Raiden might be referring to the fact that he reincarnated into the body of Liam Hamilton, so he wonders if Raiden might know the reason behind it. But unfortunately, Raiden has no idea. However, what he does know is that Liam's life is bound to be an interesting one. So he offers to make a deal with Liam. He wants to accompany Liam through his life, and he promises not to bring any harm to Leon or those around him, if he agrees. In fact, he offers to help Liam build on top of the skills he already possesses. Liam doesn't sense any animosity coming from Raiden, so he ends up agreeing to the deal. All of a sudden, Raiden's body dematerializes and is absorbed into Liam's soul, leaving a dragon mark on his hand. Liam can feel the power of Raiden flowing through his body, so he decides to do a little test run and fires his magic missile into the sky. To his surprise, he is now able to control and fire 17 spells at the same time. It must be thanks to the power boost Raiden granted him. But using Raiden's power seems to have some negative side effects, since everyone around Liam begins to suffer headaches from being exposed to such dense mana. Liam notices everyone struggling and realizes his mana is the cause, so he suppresses it and apologizes for acting so thoughtlessly. As a way of showing his sincerity, Liam offers the guildmaster 10 kilograms worth of gold dust and tells him to use it to pay for the treatment of those who were badly injured in this fight. Later that night, Liam has a meeting with his father, and he's really grateful for what Liam did since it prevented a great disaster from being caused by Albert's short-sightedness. He also heard that James is still in town, so word of Liam's great accomplishment should reach the royal capital soon enough. That night, Liam goes to bed, but by the time he wakes up the next morning, he realizes that 2 new spells just spawned in his head. He rushes outside so he can test out the spells with several hours of practice, and finally, he's able to use one of them. He summons a little Raiden, and with a bit more practice, he'll be able to make the little Raiden useful for combat, but as of now, it's pretty much just a cute pet. While Liam is playing with the little Raiden, Princess Scarlet happens to walk up behind him, and she recognizes the magic spell he just used as holy magic. She already knew Liam was impressive, but to think he would be capable of using holy magic at such a young age. Anyway, that's not why Scarlet is here today. She's here to give Liam his reward for defeating the Dragon Fiend. She personally wanted to grant him a higher title of nobility, but the other nobles were really opposed to the idea of a landless child being promoted so frequently. So instead, she decides to give him the Order of the Phoenix, 3rd class. While she's here, she also wants to hear about how Liam managed to defeat the dragon, since depending on the details, she may have to declare him as their country's hero. However, the princess is completely horrified upon learning that Liam absorbed the Dragon Fiend. She thinks this means she was totally wrong about him. But then again, she did just see him use holy magic, so maybe not. In any case, she tells Liam to keep that detail secret, no matter what. The next day, Liam receives a chest filled with 3,000 gold coins as hush money, and he doesn't understand why the princess wants him to stay quiet so badly, but he's just going to have to go along with it for now. James Stanley calls Liam to his mansion to have a chat with him, and eagerly inquires if he has really learned how to use holy magic. However, Liam can't tell him that due to his promise to Princess Scarlet, and he finds himself in a pickle. James notices the concerned look on Liam's face and clarifies his intentions. He expresses first how excited he is about Liam's success, and assures him that his accomplishments are enough to keep him in the noble family. However, the only thing that makes him suspicious is that Prince Scarlet sent Liam's family the reward for defeating the dragon, without consulting King His Majesty first. According to what James has heard from the onlookers, the great dragon fiend turned into a blinding light and entered Liam's body, which is why he assumes that, by forming a contract with the great dragon fiend, Liam must have learned its holy magic. Liam, having already taken enough bribes from Princess Scarlet for his silence, wants to go with a lie, but not having enough brain cells to make one up. He ends up revealing the truth without any pressure at all. He admits that he has learned a few holy spells, and turns around in shame, immediately apologizing to the princess in his mind for spilling the beans. James is glad that Liam told him the truth, and asks him to show the spells he has learned, as that would help him understand the extent of Liam's talents. Liam accordingly uses a holy magic spell called All Clear on James, claiming that it can remove all status ailments, even states like poison and petrification. James notices the effects immediately, and remarks that there's a good reason why holy magic is also known as the magic of gods. Wanting to give Liam an idea of why holy magic is considered an act of God, James tells him about the story of the War of the 3 Great Dragons. In this war, during ancient times, 3 majestic dragons fought against each other in a constant battle for existence. One ominous night, the war suddenly ended with one dragon emerging victorious after defeating the other 2. There's a legend that says the dragon was able to win because someone used holy magic in its favor. The story continues that the victorious dragon made a human its partner. Together, they used holy magic to create a nation that Liam is now peacefully living in. Although people might think the dragon married the human and had children, James believes otherwise. He theorizes that the dragon was absorbed by the human in the same way Liam absorbed the current dragon fiend, Raiden, and fused as one person. This implies that Liam is recreating the legend of their nation's founding, and that is why James is concerned, not just for Liam, but for his family. If Raiden is indeed one of the 3 great dragons who went into slumber after parting with the human it connected with, it means that the Hamilton family sealed away the nation's founder, which would strip their achievement of meaning and be enough to strip everyone in the family of their nobility. There's also the much larger problem. Because the dragon was sealed away for so many years, it is likely revengeful and plotting to take action against the nation for its ungratefulness. Although this isn't actually the case, Liam now faces the difficult task of proving that. In any case, Liam decides to recall his conversation with Raiden and reassures James that the dragon isn't vengeful at all. He promises that Raiden only merged with him because it was simply interested in his life. Hearing this explanation, James can only conclude that Liam is their nation's savior. In any case, James lets Liam leave, and Liam heads off to the town, where he runs into Asuna and Jod, his 2 familiars. Asuna surprisingly grabs Liam's hand and drags him away from the crowd before they can spot him. Liam is confused, and Asuna explains that once the adventurers heard about his great achievement, they all wanted to join his adventuring party and have formally applied. She hands Liam a long list of applicants, burdening him with the responsibility of choosing the next member of their team. Anyway, Liam returns home and learns from the maid that he has received hundreds of marriage proposals. Before he can even glance at one, his older brother Bruno arrives and insists that Liam marry the girl he has chosen for him. But before that, Bruno wants to know what feats Liam has achieved, now that even the high-ranking nobles are eager to have him as part of their family. Of course, Liam cannot reveal that he absorbed the dragon due to his promise with Princess Scarlet, so he puts on his best poker face and hopes Bruno moves on. Later that day, Liam, the ladies' man, takes Asuna and Jod into the woods. He uses his otherworld spell to transport them to another dimension, where he has built a house all by himself. Proudly revealing that he has mastered the spell, he shows them around the house. To make the environment feel more natural, he summons a low-level dark spirit to create darkness and simulate night. He also summons the fire spirit Salamander to light the fireplace. When Jod points out that it's still too dark, and the dark spirit should be able to adjust the level of darkness, Liam realizes the spirit isn't yet capable of doing so. He decides to level it up to a mid-level spirit and turns it into his familiar, allowing it to evolve. Now, the dark spirit can control the lighting and envelop the space with a more natural level of darkness. Using his ring, which also serves as a magic spell storage device, Liam absorbs the dark spirit, learning how to summon mid-level spirits. He upgrades his salamander spirit into a more evolved mid-level version. Using the same method, he upgrades his other familiars, storing their summoning spells in his ring and learning them all at once. Excited about his progress, Liam can't wait to master these spells. Magic is where his true enthusiasm lies. Due to Raiden's request, Liam sets out into the woods shortly after he gets called by Raiden to summon his child. To do this, he makes use of the summoning spell he had been practicing and ends up summoning a younger dragon. Surprisingly, the dragon leads him to a fairy village, and he sees them having fun. However, their fun is short-lived when they turn around to see his ugly face, and they run for their dear lives. They only stop when he claims he was sent by Raiden as proof, and he raises the young dragon. When they see it, they believe what he says. Furthermore, he reveals that he was sent to protect them since they were victims of greedy humans who hunted them for their very valuable wings, to protect them before Raiden had set up a barrier. But he now wishes Liam would continue his work to get started. He casts a contract spell on one of them and names her Ren. This spell causes the little pixie to transform into a grown-up elf. Seeing this, the others are amazed, and even Raiden had no idea that the pixies could evolve into elves. This action gets him a lecture on how naming creatures could cause them to evolve into a better form. Since the pixies had seen how much one of them had grown, they all craved the same. Without wasting much time, he goes on to name them all. After naming all the pixies, they thank him and profess their love to him. After that, they seek to know what they can do for him as his familiars. However, this clueless fool instructs them to build a village for them to live in. He asks Ren, the first pixie he evolved, to be the village chief, and she happily accepts it. While the elves figure out how to build a house, Liam is exhausted at that moment. He senses a magic power coming from the woods and walks around to find it. He stumbles upon a huge tree with a glowing fruit, and Rena had followed him in his search, letting him know that this is just a gathering of magic powers which the pixies had been gathering. Just then, the dragon instructs him to eat it, and Rena agrees to it without hesitation. He cuts it off from the tree and takes a large bite for dramatic effect. This causes him to start glowing and amplifies his power significantly. He figures this out by blasting some magic missiles happily. The next day, Liam returns to check in on the progress of the elves and is disappointed to see how miserable their building skills are. Their pathetic attempt at a house turned out to be a shabby gathering of woods and leaves. In their defense, they didn't go for any engineering classes. While Liam ponders this horrible structure, they hear a loud scream coming from a distance. Rushing there, it turns out to be some ugly bandits who have just captured one of the elves. When they see Liam, they assume he is just a little boy. Can't blame them though. One of them charges at him, but he blasts the idiot away with his magic missiles. After that, the others come charging at him, and he summons his duplicate, who joins him to blast the rest back to their origins. Watching this showdown leaves the elves thrilled. Meanwhile, Liam is worried that the area is not safe for the elves. He uses his Another World spell to have a view of the other world through the mirror. At first he thinks it won't be big enough for the elves, but it turns out to be even bigger than he expected due to the magic power fruit he ate earlier. Upon realizing this, he urges the elves to go inside while he transports them to somewhere safe. When the elves find themselves at a new location, they are shocked at how fast they got there. He reveals that he brought them to his land so that they would be safe from the bandits. This act of kindness causes them all to bow on their knees, pleading that he becomes their leader. Even though they suggest he become their king, he chooses to be a leader since he had no desire to be called king. Later on, he feeds them some ramen while he practices the new high-level holy magic Radon had given him. He had been trying this for 4 days, and after a short while he finally gets it down. To try it out, he thinks about where he wants to go and places his duplicate there. After that, he gathers the girls and uses the spell to transport all of them at once. In the blink of an eye, they arrive at their destination. This happens to be a place called the Sealed Lands. While the girls admire the land, Liam continues to blurt about how he wishes to perfect this spell so he can teleport anywhere he wants. Just then, he steps forward and stretches his hand to break the spell on the land, revealing a more appealing view. This makes the elves very pleased. However, before the elves could live here, they had to settle the issue of water. To do this, Liam summons a wind spirit and asks her for help in finding a water source. Immediately, he uses her powers to locate a very suitable source, and he thanks her for this. With the accommodation crisis of the girls gradually coming to an end, Liam spends his time training in the woods to shorten the casting time for his teleport spell. After numerous trials, he finally achieves this and is so excited. Later on, he gets set to leave the village and places the young dragons in charge of taking care of the girls while he is away. After that, he teleports to the palace of the princess, who seeks to know if the dragon has told him anything about a promised land. He disputes this but claims that he only knows about a sealed land, which the princess asked to be shown. Later that day, he takes her there, and she is thrilled at the sight of it, believing that this could indeed be the promised land. To prove this, she brings out a ring, and when Liam touches it, the land begins to float. The mere sight of this leaves her astonished. In a shocking turn of events, she bows to Liam, referring to him as the master of the promised land. She states that she hopes he would let her join him in building a new nation on this promised land. All of this seems like a dream to Liam, but he soon comes to the conclusion that his responsibilities are just getting started.
As the elves continue building their village, Liam focuses on eliminating the roaming monsters with his magic. After defeating a giant turtle, he notices Princess Scarlet watching him. She apologizes, explaining that she was mesmerized by his incredible magic. Liam, still uncomfortable with their master-servant dynamic, insists she doesn't need to serve him since her status as the kingdom's second princess outranks his. However, Scarlet insists that she serves him by choice. Her family has dragon blood, and the women are usually married off for political alliances. She would rather serve the dragon god Raiden than remain a princess. Impressed by her devotion, Raiden takes a liking to her and instructs her to walk 1 kilometer north, saying she might find something of interest there. Following Raiden's directions, Liam and Scarlet find an entrance to ancient ruins in the forest. Inside, they discover a metal dragon sitting in the center of a room. As they approach, the dragon awakens and seems ready to attack. Liam asks Raiden what's happening, and Raiden explains that it's one of his guardian creations and will definitely attack. However, if Liam destroys one of the ancient letters on its forehead, it will become obedient. Liam teleports to the dragon's forehead and uses a holy lance to pierce one of the letters, disabling its defense mode. The dragon then senses the dragon blood in Scarlet and decides to follow her. Scarlet happily accepts her new guardian, but when Liam suggests returning to the surface, she chooses to stay behind until the dragon has fully recovered from its wound. Liam still struggles with the idea of someone as important as Scarlet serving him. but Raiden advises him to become someone equally important to make it less awkward, though that's easier said than done. Suddenly, Liam senses a disturbance from the elves' village and teleports there, only to find it completely destroyed. The elves explain that wolfmen launched a sudden attack. As Liam processes the devastation, the wolfmen return and demand the intruders leave this holy land. Realizing they've misunderstood the situation, Liam tries to explain they have permission to be here. However, before he can speak, the wolfmen attack, forcing him to teleport away and defend himself with magic. The wolfmen remain determined to drive Liam and his group out, but Liam pulls out Raiden Jr., proving his connection to Raiden. Realizing their mistake, the wolfmen sincerely apologize for destroying the village. The elves, understanding that the wolves were only fulfilling their duty, assure them it's fine. The girls suggest that the wolfmen become Liam's familiars, and their leader, Chris, agrees. With no reason to refuse, Liam forms a contract with her. The next day, Liam returns to check on the village's progress. With Chris and the wolfmen helping, construction has sped up significantly. Excited to see Liam, Chris jumps up to hug him. When he asks about the rebuilding, she points to a house they're still working on and again apologizes for her rash actions. Liam reassures her that as long as they help with the repairs, it's fine. However, he realizes that rebuilding would be much faster if he could just use magic. Unfortunately, there's no spell for that in the ring. Raiden then tells Liam that he can simply create a repair spell himself. Shocked, Liam learns that as long as he clearly imagines every step of a process, he can create a new spell. Testing this, he casts a spell on a piece of wood and asks Chris to smash it. To her surprise, the wood instantly restores itself. Liam names this spell Heat Memory, which allows inanimate objects to maintain a specific state. Using it on the village, he ensures that the buildings will always stay standing. Excited by this discovery, Liam experiments further and eventually creates explosive magic missiles. Liam plans to keep inventing spells, but an emergency arises. Humans have invaded and are hunting the pixies living in the area. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Liam rushes to intervene. He confronts the intruders, warning them to leave since this is his nation. However, the soldiers dismiss him as just a child and try to ignore him. To make his point clear, Liam fires a warning shot. Instead of retreating, the soldiers decide to attack, forcing Liam to take them all down. After dealing with the intruders, Liam returns to the village, where Anna thanks him for protecting the pixies. The pixies originally lived in the forest, but fled here for safety after being attacked by soldiers trying to capture them. Liam welcomes them to stay as long as they want, and even offers to form contracts with them. However, there are so many pixies that naming them all takes a lot of time, and Liam starts running out of names. The next day, Liam gathers the girls in his pocket dimension and shows them a helmet from the soldiers, asking if they recognize it. Scarlet identifies the crest as belonging to Pa, one of the three kingdoms, along with Junil and Quist, that border the Promised Land. This suggests that the soldiers were likely scouts from Pa. If that's the case, scouts from Junil and Quist will likely follow soon. These kingdoms were once separated from the Promised Land by Raiden's illusion barrier, but now that it's gone, they must be trying to claim the land for themselves. Scarlet believes the only way to stop them permanently is for Liam to establish a nation here. Liam agrees, and Scarlet lists the three things needed to form a nation: land, people, and power. Liam already has land, and as his reputation grows, people will naturally join him, so that's not a concern. The main issue is military power. Liam is strong, but he needs a defense force to protect the land when he's not around. Chris immediately volunteers, vowing to protect the Promised Land and kill anyone who dares attack it. Liam finds Chris's statement a bit too violent, but since wolfmen are well suited for combat, he entrusts security to her. Scarlet advises him to keep building the village while demonstrating his strength by repelling invaders. Eventually, the surrounding nations will see it's more beneficial to ally with him than to fight. Everyone agrees on this strategy. The next day, Liam is visited by Leonardo, a noble from the Jill kingdom, who was sent by the king to negotiate an alliance. Leonardo explains that Jill does not wish to fight Liam and hopes to form a partnership. As a sign of goodwill, the king is even offering Princess Scarlet's hand in marriage. Liam is suspicious since he hasn't done anything significant enough to warrant such an offer. However, given Scarlet's past actions, Jill must have realized that these lands are connected to the dragon god and may be trying to gain favor. Uncertain, Liam quickly creates a telepathy spell and asks Scarlet for her opinion. She advises him to accept, as their marriage would buy them at least 6 months to strengthen their nation. Following her advice, Liam tells Leonardo that he would be honored to marry Scarlet, but requests a 1-year delay to properly develop his nation. Leonardo understands and leaves to inform the king of Liam's decision. With that settled, Liam decides to visit Scarlet's mansion in the royal capital. Since the journey is long, he sends a clone with Scarlet as an escort. Once the clone arrives, it teleports the real Liam there. Now that he's been to Scarlet's mansion, he can return any time. Seeing the capital for the first time, Liam wishes he could go sightseeing, but as the ruler of another nation, his responsibilities come first. Since Liam needs to keep a low profile in the royal capital, Scarlet invites him inside for tea. However, before stepping in, he senses Raiden's energy coming from somewhere in the mansion. Curious, he asks Scarlet if anything inside could be linked to Raiden. As it turns out, there is. Scarlet leads him to the mansion's cathedral, where a preserved statue of Raiden has been passed down through her maternal family for generations. Raiden is surprised, as he had forgotten about this statue millennia ago. He instructs Liam to cast an all-clear spell on it. When Liam does, the statue begins to glow before transferring itself onto Scarlet's body, transforming into a powerful-looking armor. Feeling a surge of immense power, Scarlet decides to test it by casting one of Liam's spells, a Holy Lance. She successfully completes the spell, but is left completely drained, as it consumed all of her mana. Even so, the fact that she could cast the spell at all is remarkable since she was never able to before. Raiden explains that this golden armor enhances the wearer's abilities and grants access to some of Raiden's holy spells. However, Scarlet's body isn't strong enough to handle its full power yet. This armor is the golden armor, the strongest set Raiden ever created. Lower-ranked versions existed, but they were lost in battle long ago, meaning Scarlet has no alternative. Liam, unfazed, suggests that if Raiden created the armor before, he can simply recreate it at a level Scarlet can handle. Amused by Liam's enthusiasm, Raiden agrees to help, but tells him the first thing he'll need is high mithril. Liam asks Scarlet if she can acquire some high mithril for the armor, and she assures him it won't be a problem. With that settled, Liam immediately gets to work. After some effort, he successfully creates a set of armor suited to Scarlet and hands it over for her to test. To activate the armor, Scarlet must first form a contract with it. Following Liam's instructions, she spills some of her blood on the statue. The armor envelops her once again, but this time, she can cast Raiden's spells without collapsing. Raiden is impressed that Liam managed to replicate his armor so easily. Since they're discussing powerful armor, Raiden decides to tell Liam about the Ruin Guardian, the most powerful set he ever made, which he used during the War of Gods. He believes Liam might be able to handle it and encourages him to try. Liam and Scarlet teleport back to the village, where Liam pours a drop of his blood onto Guardian Raiden and forms a contract with it. The Guardian transforms into armor, and when Liam equips it, he gains the ability to fire 37 magic spells at once. However, the sheer magnitude of this power pushes his limits, causing him to collapse from mana exhaustion. Scarlet rushes to check on him, but Liam reassures her that he's fine. Raiden, on the other hand, is beyond impressed. Only 3 people have ever survived after putting on the Ruin Guardian, and Liam is the first to actually cast a spell while wearing it. If he fully masters this armor, he will have the power to rule the world. Liam uses some monarch crystals to recover from his exhaustion. As useful as the Guardian armor may be, he's going to put a hold on training with it for now and puts it in his item box. He then teleports Scarlet back to the capital and teleports himself to the village. From what he can see, everything seems to be going well. All of a sudden, Raina comes up to him with some important news. Apparently, a group of trolls has been spotted living near the village. While that normally wouldn't be an issue, trolls are usually either really nice or really violent. The ones nearby are the violent kind. They could pose a real threat to the village. However, since the emissaries from the other kingdoms will keep showing up, it would be best if Liam convinces them to join his village so no fights break out between the trolls and humans. Liam heads to the location of the trolls to see if he can come to an agreement with them. Upon arriving, he's confronted by a group of trolls. The leader of the trolls asks Liam what he's doing here. Liam tries to explain that he's building a nation and was hoping to recruit the trolls to join him. The troll, however, doesn't trust humans and wants nothing to do with Liam. He tells him to get out of there. Before Liam can respond, the troll begins trying to squish him. Liam does his best to dodge, because he doesn't want to hurt the troll, but any one of those attacks could be lethal. He needs to be really careful. Unfortunately, while dodging, Liam accidentally falls into a hole in the ground and gets himself trapped. Now, the troll has a clean shot at him. Liam needs to act fast, otherwise he will be in serious danger. The troll's club hits him head-on, but luckily Liam was able to equip the Guardian Raid armor, which allows him to survive without taking any damage. Although wearing it still drains a ton of Liam's mana, the troll is surprised that the human could survive one of his strikes. However, it doesn't matter to him, as he can just hit Liam harder next time. Before he does that, Liam points to the troll's people behind him. In his blind rage, the troll did quite a bit of damage to them without realizing it. If Liam hadn't taken that last strike head-on, he could have seriously hurt his friends with the flying debris. The troll realizes he may have acted a bit rashly, so he calms down and says he will listen to what Liam has to say. Liam thanks the troll leader for cooperating, and once all the trolls are gathered, he explains that he is building a village nearby. While it mostly comprises elves and werewolves right now, there's a chance that a lot of humans will come here in the future. In the worst-case scenario, a conflict could arise between the trolls and the humans, causing the humans to hunt down the trolls. Liam would like to avoid that, so he wants the trolls to join his village. The troll leader understands what Liam is saying, but he wants to see Liam's village in person before making any decisions. Liam is fine with that, so he teleports all the trolls into the village. The trolls are all amazed by what they see. However, the troll leader gets spotted by Chris. The two know each other, and on sight, she charges at the troll and kicks him to the ground. Liam is confused by what just happened and asks Chris for an explanation. She tells him that she and the troll go way back. Long story short, Chris and the troll both find each other very annoying, so literally every time they bump into each other, they end up fighting. To date, Chris has beaten him 307 times, and the troll has beaten her 370 times. Speaking of which, she was really disappointed with that last battle, as the troll barely put up a fight at all. She asks him if he got weaker or something, but Liam reminds Chris that she evolved into a werewolf, so the troll didn't get weaker. She just got stronger. The troll gets upset since Chris is now too strong for him to fight. However, Chris tells him her power boost came from forming a contract with Liam, so she suggests the troll should do the same to be on equal footing again. The troll agrees, and Liam forms a contract with him, naming him Guy. The contract causes Guy to evolve from a troll to a gigas. While he may have shrunk, Liam can tell that his power increased dramatically. Now that Guy is stronger, Chris says she wants a redo of their battle. She attacks Guy, and this time, he is able to block her attacks and counter them. It may seem like a regular brawl, but with her current strength, even a single punch or kick could easily kill a normal person. All the other trolls stand there in amazement. Liam tells them he can give them names too if they want, so the trolls graciously accept. Now, Liam has to come up with 50 more names on the spot. Once all the trolls have formed a contract with Liam, he asks them to do a small favor for him. They head back to the canyon and begin collecting huge rocks for him. Guy and the other trolls get to work for Liam, and Chris tries to help as well. However, she is nowhere near as strong as Guy, so he tells her to just leave the manual labor to him. She refuses to give up, but eventually, her legs give up instead. Guy lifts the boulder off her back and asks Chris if she's all right. She's fine, but her pride isn't, so she runs off in embarrassment. After all the rocks have been gathered, Liam thanks Guy and the others for helping him. However, Guy doesn't understand what he plans to use all these rocks for. Liam explains that earlier, when he first met the trolls, he noticed a lot of ores there, so he wants to try melting down the rocks to extract the metals. Liam summons a creature known as Salamander to create a furnace and blast the rocks, until he ends up with a ton of iron, some copper, a little gold, and a tiny bit of mithril. Liam is really disappointed since he was hoping he could get more mithril out of the ores, as mithril is the main ingredient used to make those armor sets. Liam asks Raiden if it is really necessary to use mithril for the armor. Raiden says that mithril is vital since no other metals are strong enough to handle the stress the armor will go through. However, while Liam still doesn't have enough mithril, he does have a ton of iron, so he decides to just try his luck with the iron and see how it turns out. Liam melts down the iron and has his gnome make the mold for the armor so he can pour in the metal. Once that's done, he begins infusing it with Raiden's mana, while also giving it a name for good measure. He decided to name the battle armor Apollo, after the sun. After pulling out of the mold, they see that the Apollo battle armor was made in the shape of the sun. Liam figured that naming it would be more effective if the armor's form and its name matched, and it seems to have worked, because the battle armor creation was successful. However, Liam runs into a separate problem that evening. Even though he successfully made battle armor out of iron, he still needs to come up with individual names for the armor sets for them to work, and he's all out of ideas for good names. After racking his brain all night, he was able to make 15 sets of armor. He decides to distribute them evenly among the elves, werewolves, and trolls. Everyone gathers outside to test their new armor with mock battles, and both Guy and Chris seem to be enjoying themselves since they are stronger than ever before. Just then, a group of bandits happens to find their way into the forest and spots the elves. Immediately, they plan to kidnap and sell them all for money. However, the bandits must be lacking a few brain cells because they think it's a good idea to threaten the elves here. even though there's a group of trolls and werewolves right next to them. The leader of the bandits declares that he will be taking the elves with him, and as long as they cooperate, he won't have to hurt them. Liam thinks he should do something, but before he can act, Rana tells him to let them handle this on their own. She then calls over one of the weakest elves, Mina, and tells her to beat up those bandits. Normally, Mina wouldn't be able to hurt a fly, but with the armor Liam gave her, she's able to instantly knock out all the bandits. Liam is amazed by how much strength the armor granted Mina. If he can just make enough for all the elves, they'll be able to defend themselves from any future threats. But that means he's going to have to come up with even more names for the armor. While Liam is agonizing over it, the bandit leader manages to sneak up behind him. He tries to use Liam as a hostage and demands that everyone listen to him if they don't want Liam to die. However, no one reacts because they know the bandit can't hurt Liam. A second later, Liam hits him with a power missile straight to the chin. The rest of the bandits finally realize that they are no match for Liam after seeing their boss get uppercut into a coma, so they turn and flee the forest. That night, Liam goes into his pocket dimension because there's something he needs to do there. He summons a bunch of water spirits and tells them that he collected a lot of seawater, and he would like them to separate the salt from the water so the people of the village can use it. The water spirits agree to help, so Liam begins dumping the salt water, and they start purifying it. However, one of the water spirits comes up to Liam instead, because she has something to say. Liam doesn't recognize her at first, but she explains that she was the first water spirit with whom Liam formed a contract. She wants to express her gratitude because she has been able to do a lot more ever since she evolved thanks to him. She was even learning to possess physical objects now, although the spirit monarch doesn't like it when spirits interfere with the physical world too much. Liam is intrigued after hearing that there's a spirit monarch, but he is even more interested in the fact that the water spirit can possess objects. Starting from mid-level, a spirit can possess objects, and spirit-possessed equipment is known to be particularly powerful. So Liam comes up with a good idea. He asks the water spirit if she would be willing to help him out with a little experiment, and she says she is more than happy to help. First, Liam names the water spirit Zero for an additional buff. After creating one more battle armor in the shape of a water spirit, he has Zero possess it. He successfully creates possessed battle armor. Next, he does the same thing with the fire spirits and gives all 3 armor sets to Raina, Chris and Guy. This drastically increases their power once more, and they are all eager to use their strength to serve Liam. However, while Liam is only doing this to make sure he can protect his nation, he has already amassed enough military power to take over all the surrounding nations if he chooses to. He has no plans of slowing down anytime soon, because the pursuit of magic is all that matters to Liam. Liam decides to head back home for the first time in a while, and when he gets to the guild, he is met by Jody and Asuna, who are upset because he disappeared for weeks without saying anything. Liam apologizes, but he had a lot on his plate and forgot to tell them. Asuna tells him not to worry since it isn't a big deal, but she wants him to give them their money. Liam is confused at first, so Jody reminds him that they asked him to hold on to some money for them. When Princess Scarlet first paid Liam hush money, he held a meeting with Jody and Asuna to tell them about it. He also wanted to give them their share, a large chest full of gold coins. They were hesitant to accept it since they couldn't reveal Liam's secret anyway, but Liam insisted. Since it wasn't safe to carry that much gold, they asked him to hold on to it until they needed it, and now they need it. Liam agrees to give them the money, but wonders what they need it for. They don't answer, instead taking him to a grimoire store, where they buy one for him as a gift. Liam examines the grimoire, realizing he has never encountered this spell before, and thanks them for their thoughtfulness. Back at the guild, they catch up, and Liam reveals he's been building a nation, explaining his absence. He asks if they want to join him or stay in town. The decision is easy. They want to go wherever Liam goes. Liam is glad to hear that, but before heading back, he wants to master the grimoire they gave him. He repeatedly casts the dustbox spell in rapid succession until he can do it perfectly with 0 delay. Jody and Asuna are surprised that Liam could master the spell so easily, but they don't actually know what it does. Liam explains that the spell is called Dustbox and is similar to an item box, allowing things to be stored inside. However, there's one key difference. To demonstrate, Liam takes a piece of fish and places it in the dustbox for a minute. When he pulls it back out, the fish is completely rotten. Asuna and Jody are amazed but ask if the spell is actually useful. Liam can't think of any practical use for a spell that accelerates aging, until he spots a waitress carrying wine. Suddenly, he gets an idea and runs off. An hour later, he returns with a bottle of freshly squeezed grape juice. His theory is that if he adds yeast to the juice and puts it in the dust box, he can rapidly produce wine. They test it out. leaving the grape juice inside for 5 minutes. When they take it out, it has turned into high-quality wine. Realizing that anything requiring fermentation can be mass-produced this way, Liam sees how valuable the spell is. Later, he takes Jody and Asuna to his house and pulls out 10 different bottles of wine. He placed 10 bottles of grape juice in the dust box, staggering them by 1 hour each. The bottle labeled 10 was inside for 10 hours, the 9 bottle for 9 hours, and so on. Jody, eager to help, begins taste testing from bottle 1 to 10. Liam, who was an alcoholic in his past life, is jealous that she gets to enjoy the wine instead of him. Once she finishes, Jody exclaims that the 1 hour bottle tastes like 1-year-old wine, while the 10-hour bottle tastes like it's aged for 10 years. This means that 1 hour in the dust box equals 1 year of fermentation, making the process incredibly efficient. Asuna, jealous that Jody is the only one drinking, pouts, but Jody is technically 40, while Liam and Asuna are still too young. Now that Liam has confirmed his theory, he takes Jody and Asuna to his nation and introduces them to everyone. Everyone immediately welcomes Jody and Asuna, and to celebrate their arrival, the villagers hold a feast in their honor. Each species prepares their favorite dishes. Chris grills lamb, Guy roasts beef, and Rom makes mushroom soup. Asuna, unable to contain herself, digs in eagerly, prompting everyone else to join in. The next morning, Liam takes everyone to the nearby forest to pick fruit for making different kinds of liquor. They find an abundance of star fruit, and Guy and Chris start competing to see who can harvest the most. However, Randa scolds them, warning that if they pick everything now, next year's harvest won't grow. Just then, a scream echoes from the other side of the forest. Liam rushes over and is shocked to see a man biting a troll. Acting quickly, he blasts the attacker off with his power missiles, but before he can interrogate him, the man flees into the woods. Guy checks on the bitten troll, Goon, but something is wrong. Goon suddenly becomes erratic and lunges at Guy, trying to bite his face. B steps in and restrains him. Unsure of what's happening, Liam suspects it might be a status effect and casts all clear. Thankfully, Goon immediately returns to normal and falls asleep, but the cause remains unknown. Jody, having seen this condition before, tells Liam that Goon may have been infected by a vampire. Vampires turn others into their servants through bites, and typically, there is no cure. However, Liam's spell worked instantly, which is nothing short of miraculous. But there's a bigger problem. Vampires usually disintegrate in sunlight, yet the attacker was unaffected. This suggests the involvement of a Dracula, a rare mutant vampire born once every few centuries. Under a Dracula's rule, other vampires become stronger and can even survive in daylight. If a Dracula is involved, it's a serious threat. Liam decides to investigate immediately to prepare for whatever might come next. Liam sends a scout to search for any traces of the Dracula. When the scout returns, he brings bad news. He found the vampires 10 kilometers north, but there are over 10,000 of them, and they are advancing quickly. The village is vastly outnumbered, and panic begins to spread among the villagers. The sheer number of vampires is alarming. The residents of the surrounding lands, including orcs, goblins, and other species, have all been turned. Worse, the fact that all these vampires can move freely during the day means an exceptionally powerful Dracula is leading them. Normally, vampires are passive and live quietly, but under this Dracula's control, they have become violent and destructive. Guy insists they need to stop the horde before it causes more damage, but Jody and Asuna argue that fighting them head-on is too dangerous. Even with their strength, a single bite could turn any of them into part of the vampire army. Liam agrees, but still wants to do what he can to stop the threat. He orders the evacuation of nearby villages to prevent them from being overrun. Unfortunately, none of the villagers take the warning seriously. Vampires are usually not a major threat, so they dismiss the danger. Not long after, the vampires attack an orc village. The orcs put up a strong resistance, but are eventually overwhelmed, and all of them are turned into vampires. The scout also reports something even more terrifying. While observing the battle, he saw a vampire unlike the others. The rest of the horde kneeled before it, and then it performed a ritual that resurrected all the vampires that had died fighting the orcs. Liam has no doubt. The vampire the scout saw is the Dracula. Worse, if it can continuously revive its army, then fighting them head-on is futile. The only way to end this is by eliminating the Dracula itself. However, with an army of this size, getting anywhere near it seems impossible. Fortunately, Liam has devised the perfect plan to defeat the Dracula. He gathers the tribe leaders, along with Asuna and Jody, to assist him. The 5 of them lure the vampire horde into a valley, and just before the vampires reach them, they equip the specialized armor Liam crafted for them. The battle begins. and they tear through the vampires with overwhelming force. Vampire bodies pile up rapidly as the group carves a path through the horde. After causing significant damage, Guy suggests they retreat, as they've likely gained Dracula's attention. Sure enough, Dracula soon appears. Just as he prepares to resurrect his fallen vampires, Liam swoops in and teleports him away. Dracula, both confused and impressed that Liam was able to move him against his will, demands an explanation. Liam reveals that he teleported them 100 kilometers away, ensuring Dracula can no longer interact with his kin. Confident that the conflict will be resolved once he defeats Dracula, Liam offers a peaceful solution, asking Dracula if he would stop turning others into vampires so they can coexist. Dracula scoffs at the offer, declaring that he will never stop until all inferior species are his servants. Realizing there is no room for negotiation, Liam fires several power missiles at him. The attacks land directly, but Dracula emerges completely unharmed. Dracula then disintegrates and reappears behind Liam, attempting a surprise attack. However, Liam swiftly teleports away before he can be struck. Switching tactics, Liam conjures multiple holy lances and impales Dracula several times, yet Dracula simply dissolves and reforms, unscathed. Dracula then tricks Liam into teleporting, seizing the opportunity to grab him. Just as Dracula prepares to sink his fangs into Liam's neck, Liam swaps places with a clone and dispels it, narrowly avoiding infection. Realizing how close that was, Liam considers activating his Guardian Raiment armor. Since activating his Guardian Raiment would give him a huge power boost, but drain all his mana, Liam decides it's too risky to use until he's sure he can defeat Dracula. He keeps attacking with various spells, but nothing works. Dracula smirks, telling Liam that his resistance is pointless. No matter what Liam does, he won't be able to harm him. Dracula is immortal. He exists outside the laws of the world, making him indestructible. His body is merely a vessel to consume life force, and as long as the world exists, he will remain undefeated. Liam processes what Dracula just said. If Dracula isn't technically alive, then the usual rules might not apply to him. The moment Dracula grabs him again, Liam seizes the opportunity. He activates Dust Box and traps Dracula inside. Normally, living beings can't be placed inside the dust box, but since Dracula isn't truly alive, the restriction doesn't apply. Now, all Liam has to do is wait. Time inside the dust box flows rapidly, and since Dracula relies on consuming life force to sustain himself, he will eventually run out. Liam stands there for 10 hours, meaning 10 years have passed inside the dust box. Eventually, Dracula either exhausts his life force or becomes so overwhelmed by isolation that he falls into a state of suspended animation. Liam has successfully defeated Dracula.